In 1906, a single book shattered the American dinner plate. Upton Sinclair, a young radical, set out to expose the crushing weight of capitalism on the human heart, but he ended up hitting the nation much lower. As he famously lamented, "I aimed at the public's heart, and by accident I hit it in the stomach." This is the story of the novel that changed the law, the land, and the very food we eat. Turn-of-the-century America was a powder keg of industrial growth and human misery. Beneath the smoke of factory growth, a new class of reformers, the progressives, rose to wage war against the slums and the corruption of the Gilded Age. Their enemy, the Big Four, meatpackers, and the oil and steel giants who treated workers as wage slaves to fuel their monopolies. Welcome to Packingtown, the center of the meat monopoly. Here the Big Four dictated terms to the world, ruling over a massive Chicago complex of slaughterhouses and feedlots. It was a place of ruthless efficiency where not a single scrap was wasted. As the saying went, they used every single part of the hog, except the squeal. Before Henry Ford ever dreamed of the assembly line, the meatpackers perfected the art of disassembly. Carcasses swung on hooks through a gauntlet of 80 distinct jobs. At the head of the line were the pace setters, men paid extra to work at a frantic speed, forcing the unskilled laborers behind them to keep pace or be crushed by the machinery of production. The cost of your cheap steak was paid in blood. Immigrant workers stood all day on floors slick with gore, laboring in dark, unventilated rooms where tuberculosis ran rampant. Men coughed blood onto the floor and lost fingers to the knives. There was no safety net, no compensation, and no mercy. If you were injured, you were simply thrown away like the scraps you processed. In 1904, a 26-year-old young man named Upton Sinclair descended into this hell. Sent by a radical magazine to research a strike, he lived among the workers for 7 weeks, interviewing the broken and the desperate. He didn't just want to tell a story, he wanted to ignite a peaceful revolution via the ballot box. He emerged with The Jungle. It was a tragedy disguised as fiction, following Jurgis Rudkis, a strong immigrant whose belief in the American dream is ground into dust by predatory lenders and industrial cruelty. The book ends not with a reform bill, but with a roar for socialism. Chicago will be ours. Sinclair's intended message was a scream for labor rights. He wanted America to weep for Jurgis, to see the graft and the systemic failure that turned good men into criminals just to survive. It was a plea for the working man, a call for unionization, and a demand for the end of wage slavery. But the public didn't weep for the worker. They gagged at the meat. Sinclair's prose described a nightmare, rats poisoned and ground into sausage, and workers falling into vats of steaming lard. Their dissolved bodies were sold to the public as pure leaf lard. Suddenly, readers didn't care about Jurgis's soul, they cared about their own breakfast. The shockwave hit the nation like a physical blow. Meat sales plummeted as the book became a global sensation, published in 17 languages. Thousands of letters flooded the White House. Sinclair watched in horror as his socialist message was drowned out by a panicked public obsessed only with contamination. President Theodore Roosevelt was repulsed, both by the meat and the author. He coined the term muckraker as an insult for journalists who focused only on the filth. Yet even the president had to admit, there is filth on the floor and it must be scraped up. President Roosevelt sent a secret commission to Chicago, hoping to find Sinclair's fiction was an exaggeration. Instead, they found a reality even more revolting. They saw carcasses fall into worker toilets and be hooked right back onto the line without a second thought. The nightmare was real. Out of the filth came the law. Roosevelt pushed through the Meat Inspection Act and the Pure Food and Drug Act, the precursor to the modern FDA. It was a massive expansion of federal power over private enterprise, authorizing inspectors to watch the process from hoof to can. But in this victory, there were losers. While consumers regained confidence and big business used the new rules to crush smaller competitors, the workers were forgotten. Conditions remained grim and wages stayed low. Sinclair's primary goal, socialist revolution, was completely and utterly ignored. The Jungle remains a testament to the power of the pen. Like Uncle Tom's Cabin before it, it proved that a single story, no matter how gruesome, can move a nation to act when facts alone are not enough. It reminds us that sometimes to change the world, you have to hit people right where it hurts, in the stomach.